Welcome to Sama, Seattle Sacred Music and Art. I'm Derek Mazzoni, your host. Thanks for being here. Hope you're doing well. We're still dealing with COVID, obviously. It's kind of the catalyst for this entire program. Another wave has come, and musicians have gotten hit, and the ones that have taken the vaccine are doing well. The others, I'm not so sure about, but inshallah, we will get through this in one form or another. I have a great band on tonight. As many of you know, I grew up in Boston when I moved from Poland. And Boston has an amazing music scene. Obviously, it's got a bunch of colleges. It's got Berkeley, so there's a lot of musicians and a lot of places for them to play. I go back to Boston regularly. I have family there and dear friends. And last time I was there, I was hanging out with a crew that I did radio with. Now, KXP is not my first radio station. My first radio station is WMFO at Tufts University, a freeform radio station, and that was quite the education for me, where I learned a lot about the global artists that I play on a radio today, and I put forth for you on Sama, as well as jazz and rock and all those particular things. It was a golden time for Boston radio and Boston music. So we're hanging out. We're hanging out in Somerville in Davis Square, and my friends go, "Come, let's get together. There's a cool band I want you to check out at this place called the Lizard Lounge." And I was like, "Okay, let's go." You know, had a couple of beers, walked down there, went downstairs, and it was pretty amazing. At first, I was like, okay, what the hell's going on here? There's the gimbiri, which is a traditional Moroccan string instrument that creates a really powerful bass-like hypnotic effect. I played it quite a bit on various shows. And there was a jazz element that was going on there. There was some electronics that was going on. There was a turntablist doing a bunch of stuff. The crowd was really eclectic, way more eclectic than I expected, what I thought was going to be just a straight-up jazz show. And then the band kicked in, and I was like, they got a groove. Something is going on here that I wasn't expecting. And it really became, I didn't want it to stop. People started dancing. And it was a nice vibe. And after then, I got hooked. I was like, all right, I like this band. They're called Club Delph. And they're pretty freaking amazing. And I'm pretty jazzed to have members of the band right now. Let me get a prop for you. They just have a brand new record out. Let me put this in the middle. Here it is, some interesting art around it. And I've got Michael J. Rivard in today, and I've got Brahim Fribgan. Bad pronunciation, but I'll get to it. And they got a chance to record some music for us at a studio in Boston. And it's beautiful. And I want to play you the first track right now. We're going to have a conversation and then more. And then we're going to hear a lot about this band. And in theory, they're touring. So maybe wherever you may be, you'll get a chance to check them out. But here they are right now. Club Delph on Sama, Seattle Sacred Music and Art.
Sidi Zid Bel, Zid Bel, la Zid Bel.
Michael, Brahim, thanks for being here. Thanks for being part of Sama.
Thank you for having us.
Our
How
pleasure.
is
Thanks
life?
For having us. Life is
All
good.
right, all right. You know,
You know, I mean, we're
Life is
still
good.
here. It's better than the
you're
alternative.
alive.
We're still alive.
So let's,
Exactly. That's
that's a
the main
good,
thing for me.
it's an interesting, ground floor to be dealing with. Thank you for the beautiful music. Tell me about the song.
Brahim.
Brahim, tell me about the song.
The song is a traditional Zidu man.
Ziduman.
It's a song from traditional music, or what we call the Gnawa music, and it's usually used in ceremonies. So most of these songs are not show songs. It's kind of like the stuff in South America, like Bata or like Santeria, where people heal themselves from those songs. So it's spiritual, it's trancey, being used only for a ceremonial, and the ceremony has to go through a lot of things, all these custom things that they have to do. But with doing it with Club DAF, we kind of like bring it to a different view for people to hear it, because most of the time people, when they hear folkloric, they kind of get tired of it, or it's not really sound the way they want to hear the sounds, especially for the Western ears and stuff. So with Club Deaf, we actually make that song more broad, I would say, or everybody can hear it. It's got the funk, it's got the bass. Michael was playing great on Santir. He made Santir sounds like a slap bass funk things, So the song is mostly it's a traditional folkloric songs that has to be used in ceremony, but there's so many songs, and when they do the ceremony, this is one of them, one of those songs.
How does that song? Okay, let me start with this. I'm aware of the ceremonial and healing quality of this music. It's one of the reasons I wanted to have you guys on. After a show, because we watched all of your the time that I saw you watch the whole thing, people felt enlivened. There was like, it wasn't like coming out angry or coming out like in a weird mood. There was an energy of levity, not ha, but just like, I really had something. And I'm curious, because when you have a musician that comes from that tradition, how does that play into the music that you're creating with another band? Do you think about it, or is it not? Is it just, no, this is a good groove, I'm just going to throw it in there? Curious if you can speak to that.
I really believe that the music, even if you change it for other people to hear it, it has the same impact on the people. And it doesn't matter what you say. The song it's called for the old master of the Gnawa music, and just saying their name and blessing them and thanking them for the music they bring. But it's also for me, it really, music will touch anybody who it doesn't have to be Moroccan or American or Hindu or whatever it is, but it's the trancy things of the music will get into the people without even think about it. I don't even think about it when I sit down and play it to sing it. And I see that also with the musicians that around with me, how they really into the spirit at that time, into the trance of that song. And I don't think they think about it. I don't know. I mean, I just feel like once I'm sitting, I feel all this vibration with everybody that's surrounding me, and and also holding me to like actually sing it. But also you can see that this maybe I could say an ecstasy between you and the audience that's called this circle that goes around. When you see they send it to you and then it goes back again, you send it to the audience. So there's really this connection that I can't, intangible, I can't explain it. It's there.
And it's really beautiful how a song like that, there's so many different interpretations and versions of it. Like I learned the song when I was in Morocco in 2009. I got to visit the great Malam Mahmoud Guinea at his home in Essaouira, and he taught me the song, and then I brought it back and taught it to the band, and then when we do it with Brahim has his own way of doing the song. Like he plays the lines slightly differently, and it's really beautiful how it's the essence of the song is there, but everybody, all the different malams have their own way of performing it. And Brahim, when we perform it, he calls upon the gives honors the different malams, like Mustafa Bekbo, Hamid Bousso, Malam Sam. And it's a really beautiful way of invoking and giving respect and honor to these great musicians that have come before us.
How did the band form?
Well, I was playing. This is like the late '90s. I was playing in a band with Mark Sandman from Morphine. The band was called Hypnosonics. Mark was really busy with Morphine at that time. And he got tired of me bugging him to book shows, and he just said, Rivard, start your own band. So I had my friend Billy Beard was booking the Lizard Lounge, and I just kind of pitched the idea of doing an ongoing night, kind of like a residency with a house band, and then we would have different special guests come in. There would be, a house rhythm section, and then we would just kind of remix the music depending on who was involved. And so it started out, not so much as a band, but just kind of a night at a club, and then it solidified into a certain group of people. And it was always my intention of having a band that was kind of open enough that I could have all of my favorite musicians and my friends be a part of it, just kind of come in and out as time and schedules allowed, but to also have, kind of a unified aspect to the band. So it wasn't just random every time.
Yeah. Just a jam session.
And then I met Brahim about a year after I started the group. We did a gig together in New York. What was that, the Cooler? Or
the Kitchen.
The Kitchen with David Rothenberg.
Wasn't
it David Rothenberg?
Yeah, it was David Rothenberg with this guitar player. I forget his name.
Amit Chatterjee.
Yeah, I think so.
And David too. Yeah. But Brahim and I, I think we just kind of had one of those immediate connections, and I was really blown away with his playing, and he's someone that comes from the Moroccan tradition, and he's been able to synthesize all the different folk music, the folkloric music of Morocco, and combine it with Western styles and be able to, for me, what was the really key thing was he's able to describe and teach the music to Western musicians, because it's not easy to figure out where the one is in a lot of Moroccan music. Especially, there's a rhythm called the shabby, which is kind of the like the Bo Diddley beat of Morocco. You find it everywhere. It's in Berber music. It's in the Atlas Mountains. There's a style of pop music called shabby. It's everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And it's basically 4 accents: get gon, get gon, get gon, get gon, and none of them fall on a downbeat. They're all on the upbeat. And if you, to Western ears, we generally go with where the accent is. So it's kind of get gon, get gon, get gon. So that's where I was hearing it. And Brahim was able to basically teach us how to play the groove, and that was so essential for the music, because it's now just part of our vocabulary. It's in the musical DNA of the band.
I love the story. I'm here with Michael Rivard. I'm here with Brahim Fribgan of Club Delft. They have a new record out, and now we're going to hear some more music right now from them, recorded for Sama, Seattle Circuit Music and Art. Dervish Dance from Club Delph on Sama, Zero Circuit Music and Art. You guys go into different modalities. You know, there's energy, there's dance, and there's an ability to kind of like break it down and take people on a journey. That takes some kahunas to do that, you know, as musicians, because like, you know, once you get them somewhere, you feel like, okay, I'm going to keep them there. They're happy. Take me through that process as musicians, because I've been at shows where it's just like, just calm down, you know. Don't be so, not everything needs to be 110%. What's your thought process when you guys are playing? Do you think about the band? Do you think about the audience, or is it not, we're on our own particular journey and you can come in or out as needed? You know, when I was watching you guys, I was like, there's definitely a conversation going on. They're not like out there, hey, everybody, how you doing? How you feeling? There's more of a dialogue going on. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think a lot of it depends on the venue. You know, you take a place like the Lizard Lounge, the audience is right there. They're inches away from you, so it's hard to ignore them. And it feels like it's kind of a communal experience where we wouldn't be playing the same way that we do without the audience there, because we're picking up on their energy, and it's, you know, it's this like back and forth. We put the energy out, they give it back to us, and so I think it's all really an intrinsic part of the whole experience.
Okay.
What do you
Okay. Does it
think, Brian?
change depending on a venue? I mean, you guys have a new record out. So you're touring, so you're bringing this to someplace else. I mean, when I saw you, and obviously you're still working together, so it's successful. The crowd knows you, and you know I should tell my audience this story. In Seattle, I was at one of my favorite coffee shops called the Lighthouse. Highly recommend it. Doing some work, and they had some really beautiful music playing in the system. Sometimes I'll have speakers in, sometimes I won't. And I was walking out, and I asked the barista, "What are we listening to?" And they were playing you in Seattle. You guys are literally on the other end of the street. That street is Highway 90, beginning where you are and ending where I am right now. It's a long, long road, and I was curious. It was like, okay, so you're here, you're catching, you're moving beyond being a regional band, which is great.
So do you think next time I'm in Seattle, I can go to the coffee shop and ask for a free coffee?
You could, you really could. These guys,
because that's what it comes down to.
No, these guys
Let's get real.
actually. Lighthouse is great, and this is a coffee town. I guess obviously Boston is too now. But this is how musicians work. They take shifts and one of the best bands playing in Seattle right now, called Deep Sea Diver, their tour bus is the old Lighthouse van.
Oh.
And so they're driving around with this big van because the owners, they love the music scene. It's a small world, as it is, I guess, in Boston. But it's a good sign, because it means that this is important and it's coming out. And I am a huge fan of Gnawa music. I'm a huge fan of what this music can do. I'm a huge fan of any kind of music coming out of Morocco. The first band I saw was Master Musicians of Tijuca, and talk about trying to find the one with that band. Holy crap, it's all over the place. And it was amazing. And it was like, more people need to experience this thing. This is one of those moments where you're like, oh, okay, there was before I saw this, and there's after I saw this. And so anybody that's doing that and doing that in a good way, I applaud for you guys doing that. New record right there. Check it out. New vinyl. For all the heads, it's Record Store Day. Yesterday was Record Store Day, or this weekend was Record Store Day. So, the new record's out. You guys are going to tour? Are more people going to get a chance to see this? What's the plan?
Well, we did. Brahim lives in Albuquerque now, and we're mostly based in the Northeast in Boston, and part of the band's in New York. So Brahim came up, and we did a few weeks of tour dates, and the plan is to, keep going. I'm working with a new agent, and
Okay.
you were talking earlier about the how it's difficult without the machine behind you to get music like this out. So we're still trying to find avenues to branch out further and take it to more audiences.
How do you guys keep the spirit? How do you guys keep the energy to produce more, to do more, to play out? What are you getting that keeps you, I don't want to say motivated, because it's not exactly the word for it, but like the inspiration, the this is what I do, this is what I have to do.
You want to get this one, Brian?
I don't know. I mean, as a musician, as an artist, you have to keep going no matter what happens. I feel like we, like anybody else who was born to be somebody, who was born to do something. I remember my friend Mohammed says to me one day, he's also a good influence in my music, and so he lives in Morocco, and he knows a lot of stuff about folkloric and stuff. And And one day he said, you have to use your gift as it's a responsibility. It's something that you have to nourish. You have to keep going. You don't stop doing it. And I guess that's the drive of loving music and also the word, sharing, especially the sharing part of it with every human being in the world. And that's what we should do. There is a lot of stuff in the state that we don't know. There's a lot of music that we don't know. There's a lot of stuff that I don't know. Like the guy says, I now know that I don't know. I don't know that.
Yeah. The more you know, the more you realize you don't
the
know.
more you know, and the more you share it. And I feel like since I moved here, I was obligated to share that with people because I see that there is a lot of things that people sharing from different parts, America, United States, melted pot, all this cultural things mix what we call America. But I was kind of like one of those people who were like, I need to share it. And I guess that's the drive and also the curiosity. And that's what I loved about when I started playing with Club Deaf. It's all about, what is that? How do you play that? Where is this from? All these kind of things. It keeps you going and going and going. And then you start discovering other things that you actually didn't even think existed. So I guess that's the drive for me to like keep going and for the band. And Michael Barr brought all these guys that had different background musically, and everybody's chipping. And then by chipping also discovering. Same thing. I mean, I told this story so many times to Mike and other guys. Like when I first met Club Delph, he invited me to, where was it, Jamaica Plan or something, and I wanted to rehearse. And then I get in and I was like, what's wrong with these people? Because none of them play straight. I was like, what is this? What's going on? What is it that they're smoking that I'm not smoking or something? I'm like, it's totally, and it's a new thing for me. There's no so-called avant-garde or play out. I mean, all folkloric. It's very, it's very straight. And then I hear everybody's out, everybody's playing different things. Like, no, something is wrong with these guys. I want to know what is it. So sure enough, I started enjoying it and thankful them. They teach me as we share by showing them what I know, and I'm back, to me again. They show me all the stuff.
Perfect. All right, I love that story. I want to talk about that a little bit more, but I want to play now Lala Aisha in Japtal. Now, this is obviously there's a lot of songs about Aisha in Moroccan music. Tell me what the title means.
Well, Brahim can speak about this as well because he knows more about the tradition. But I'll just give a brief story about my introduction to it. There's a song in the Gnawa repertoire called Hamdoushi, which I guess was introduced late to the Gnawa music by the Hamdoucha Brotherhood, and it's in 5, which is kind of unusual for Gnawa music. And I first heard the song through Hassan Hakmoun, who Brahim also plays with and introduced me to years ago. And we do an arrangement kind of mashing it up with North Indian Japtal, which is a rhythmic cycle in 10 beats. And on the album version, the great tabla player Amit Kaptekar plays, and he recites the konakol, which is the tabla bowls. So it's kind of our kind of merging of styles, like kind of a Moroccan Gnawa meets a North Indian Hindustani by way of a kind of a house beat in 5.
Perfect. You guys are having fun. This is awesome.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about Lala Aisha?
It's Lala Aisha. It's a saint. It's just like the spirit when you talk about Bata or about Candomblé, Santeria, when they have Ashura, that the spirit of the water or the gods of water. And Aisha, she's actually a spirit of the water in Morocco, same thing. And I do believe that, when things comes out from Africa, it went to different places, and wherever we landed, if it's the religion or the tribe, whatever, then it becomes something else. So for us, it's Aisha. She's the god of the water. I mean, that's the Western, we call it the god of water, but we call it the saint. And you're right. I mean, it's a song from another tribe, brotherhood of trance and Sufi music, which is, they call them Isawa. It's in the north of Morocco, close to Meknes, which they do the whole ceremony again. So somehow connected with the Gnawa trance and Sufi music, and I don't know exactly when and how they do worked out, but it's also represent the spirit of Aisha, similar things.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
Pleasure.
Lala Aisha in Jabtal on Sama, Zero Second Music Art with Club Duff.
てきたとたてきたドンたてきたドンたてきたドンたてきたドンたてきたドンたてきたドンたてきたドンたてきたとたたてきたとたたたたたてきたとたたてきたとたたてきたとたたたたたてんドンなんでたてきたとたてきたとたてきたとたてきたドンたてきたとたたたたたたてきたとたたたたたたたてきたとたたたたたただだディディキキななドンたてきたドンたてきたドンたてきたとたてきたとたてきたドンたてきたとたてきたとたてきたとたたたたたディンたたたたたディンたたたたたディンたてきたドンたてきたドンたてきたドンたてきたとたてきたとたてきたドンたてきたとたてきたとたてきたドンたてきたとたてきたとたてきたとた
Club Dove, Ansama, Seattle Circuit Music and Art. The track was called Lala Aisha in Japtal, a fusion, I don't want to say fusion, a hybridization, a melding of Moroccan and North Indian musical traditions and styles. I'm here with Michael Rivard, and I'm here with Brahim Fevakne, and we are talking about music, we're talking about life, we're talking about America, and we're going to talk about musicians. Who are the people in the band that are not here right now? Michael.
So Club Delph is a collective. It's rarely the same group of musicians twice. The core of the band is myself and drummer Dean Johnston. And I consider Brahim a core member, even though living in Albuquerque, he's not able to join us all the time. But he's certainly the spiritual center of the band. And even when he's not physically present, we feel him.
Do you have a little shrine to him? Do you have like a little voodoo doll where it's just like...
It's a musical shrine.
Front.
Yeah. And then Mr. Rourke is another core member who is a DJ who conjures, the most amazing sounds that he sprinkles over the top. On the performance that we did for Sama, we were joined by David Fusinski, who also plays on the album. It was amazing, double neck guitar player, and Fabio Pirozzolo, who's an amazing percussionist and singer. On the album is basically 2 sessions with 2 different bands. The other studio records that we've done have been kind of everybody who plays in the band trying to get everybody together and making it sound cohesive. But I like the albums we've done in the past, but for this one, I really wanted it to sound like the band does live, you know. So we did it live in the studio to 2-inch tape. We recorded at a studio north of Boston in North Reading, Middleville studio, the great engineer Chris Rival. And we did two sessions with 2 bands, me, Dean, and Brahim. The first sessions we were joined by Duke Levine and Kevin Barry on guitars and Paul Schulteis on keyboards. And then the second round of sessions was Dean and Brahim and I with John Medeski on keyboards and Dave Fusinski on guitar. And we didn't do a lot of overdubbing on this one. Mr. Rourke added some parts. Ami Kaptika, who I mentioned, played tabla. We had a couple of horn players, Phil Grenadier and Andrew Foliano, and a great harmonica player from Iceland, Thorleifur Geikor Davidson. So, but if you come out and see us, there's about 100 musicians who float in and out of the band. So it's always kind of a different vibe depending on which show you come to.
Have you had to say no? Or have you overfilled it? Like, that sounds great, but like, you know...
You
like
mean no
show.
to too many musicians?
We got no room on the stage. I'm sorry. I'd love to have you play.
Well, that's usually the deciding factor is like how much space is there. You know, there's financial considerations too, because
Yeah,
you know everybody needs to eat, be fed.
Yeah, that's a big band.
But it's also I find 6 is kind of the magic number, 5 or 6, and then it allows there's enough space in the music for everybody to be heard. When you start adding more than that, it gets a little thick. I mean, we'll do shows where we'll have guests come on, like on this release tour that we just did. We the Boston show, we had a couple of horn players and extra keyboard player. Yeah.
How did you get into this? I mean, you just talked to me about an Americana band you were part of that played in Utah. Like, what was the catalyst for you to go into this space from where you're from? What was the thing?
Well, I mean, a lot of it, like I said, was Sandman kicking me in the ass, you know.
I know.
Up until then, I've been a freelance bass player. You know, I play in a lot of different situations. I play with the Boston Pops Orchestra, and you know, a ton of different bands. But besides Mark, just trying to get me off his back, because you know, I was hoping for him to book some gigs. I just wanted to explore all the different music styles that enliven me without having a singer to you know hold us back. It's like the attack of the rhythm section.
But this kind of, you know, playing in the sacred space, playing in ceremonial, playing in music with intention. How did you get into that?
Well, I think that's the thing that really attracted me to Gnawa music in particular was the healing aspect of it. You know, I mean, I'm all for music as entertainment, but when it comes right down to it, you know, especially these days when you know there's so much strife and hatred in the world, you know, I'm just more and more attracted to music that heals. And I had a personal journey with healing, and this album is centered around kind of a healing journey that I took, where I, for years, I was going to the Amazon jungle to work with some indigenous healers there, and on my last trip there, I developed a pulmonary embolism while I was in the jungle, and it precipitated a major health crisis and a spiritual crisis. And the music for me was kind of my anchor and my ticket back into a sense of being in the light again.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks for sharing that. That's a movie right
It
there.
was heavy. It was heavy.
Yeah, you're in a jungle with a pulmonary embolism. It's like, that's not hanging in Tulum sipping on a margarita.
No, it was a spiritual healing of a kind that I wasn't expecting at
Okay.
all.
Okay, thanks for sharing. I want to go a little deeper into that a bit. Brahim, is this, what about you? I mean, there's, obviously Morocco has a powerful musical tradition. Everywhere you go, people are playing music, but it's another thing to turn it into a career, instead of just something. So what was it that made you go like, no, I want to do that?
I don't know. I mean, it's actually I didn't expect it to be. I mean, since I was a kid, I was always loving to play music, and didn't think of it as a career. Although you dream about it, when you live in a country that doesn't have an opportunity to do these things, to be able to play with other musicians, to be able to have instruments. Grew up in a place where you have to rent your guitar to play in weddings. I grew up playing in weddings in Casablanca. I was born in Casablanca. I grew up in Casablanca. It's kind of like a New York in Morocco. All the people from all over Morocco, they live in Casablanca. And so then when I came here, I started playing with Hassan. And that from there, met with Adam Rudolph, Hamid Drake, and I always tell this story about how my first jazz gig was actually with David Rottenberg and Dave Holland, and I didn't even know who was Dave Holland. I had no idea who this guy is, and that's where the question started, where is one? Because I started playing the Moroccan things, and everybody's asking me where is one. I didn't learn that way. I learned just by hearing it. Everybody plays the Moroccan things. My mom, my grandma, everybody plays that stuff. It's a natural thing, but nobody asks, hey, where is one? How you started it? Something until I came here, and then New York actually. New York gave me the opportunity to do that, to express myself, and to open the door. And Hamid Drake actually did that. He opened the door for me to discover myself, discover that I could do other things. And like I said before, curiosity is my thing. So I started learning, playing with anybody, with the Indian tabla players, Japanese, name it, all kind of classical musicians. Last time I did the orchestra with Adam Rudolph, we did so many different musicians. So that's give me a little hope that actually you can do it. You can actually play, you can learn, you can go somewhere from there. You can share your music and take it to a different way. And then you start learning, I could do this in not this way, not the way the other people did. And I'm a person who always break the rules, like no traditional stuff, like bring the tradition but break it. It's because we do have and every tradition, and with all respect, that's the way it is, folkloric. I didn't grow up folklorically. I grew up in a city where we used to listen to the Beatles in the radio station, and it was London, or, this is London, and that's how you wait for that day to listen to the Beatles or Paul Simon or something, Frank Zappa, something like that. We didn't have a luxury to listen to the stuff, but coming here, and it did actually open up the whole things. And meeting with all these musicians, I learned a lot from them, to how do I use my knowledge, whatever I brought with me from back home, and experiment and put it in this plateau, whatever, to share it with people. And I know that in the United States, it's different from Europe, because most of the migrants of North Africa are actually in Europe. And you know that in Spain, France, Belgium, Italy, Holland, whatever. And most of the African actually. But here in the States, now, most of the people know about West African.
Yeah.
There's a lot in Africa that we don't know. I don't know. Most of the people don't know, but and especially North African, because of that, where is one, it makes people like, oh, I don't want to touch that. I don't understand it, or I played it differently. But it gave me a chance to. That's where I started thinking, well, I need to do something about this. I need people to understand this. I needed to be normal, like listening, like hearing samba and people dancing in the street, or hearing West African, or hearing, I don't know, klezmer or something like that. To be
Do you feel like an
more,
ambassador?
I don't know if I can call myself. There is so many ambassadors. I think I was in the right moment, right place, and I took advantage of that other people didn't. I always look at it as I need to take advantage of this moment but it took me a long time to learn, first of all, just to explain, just to connect the language. I didn't study music, in the conservatoire or something, but those questions, it was a time when I started doubting myself. Did I learn these things wrong? Am I doing it right? But then later on, I figured out, listen to so many tapes. I have so many tapes from Morocco. And that opens that, answer the where is one question, $1 million. And that's it. Since you opened it, then I started, figure out what kind of language I was. I mean, it was a time when I tell Lenny Stern, and she was laughing. And I told her, whenever you find you one, that's your upbeat. It's my language to speak it to make people understand, but that's how I see it.
Perfect. Thank you for sharing that. I love
That's
people's
one of-
origin stories. It's important. We're going to play Allah Ya
Mulana.
Mulana.
Can I just say one thing related to
Yeah.
Brahim talking about
Please do.
the upbeat? That's one of the things that's fascinated and attracted me to Moroccan music and culture, is that so much of it is on the upbeat. It's in the air. There's this sense of throwing things to the winds, to possibility, to chance, and it's like it's an antidote to so much of what I've considered to be kind of Western malaise, and just stuck in one way of looking at things. It's this. I mean, I think the shabby rhythm is really a metaphor for just going beyond the obvious and being in the air, being letting yourself go and not sure of where you're going to fall.
Well, I think musicians have a really interesting power and a responsibility with that, because you don't need to understand it to fall in love with it. It's not like literature in a language or
Totally.
or any other form. It's like, we've all been to shows where like, you have no idea where I'm from. You have no idea of my culture. You have no idea of the language I'm speaking. But something about what I'm presenting to you right now is moving you, and you're not going to forget it. And I don't know anybody else that, maybe cuisine, but it's different. But there's something that musicians
Cuisine
can do.
does. Totally.
But it's go ahead.
I was just going to say, since we're going to do Ala Ya Mulena, maybe Ibrahim could say something about Nestle One.
Nestle One is it's for us in Morocco was sort of like the Rolling Stones or the Beatles of Morocco. It started in the 70s, and I grew up they're from my neighborhood. One of the guys, the main guys who started it, he's the founder of the band, Boujmir, his name, who used to live behind the house where I used to. I was a kid. I didn't remember that time, but my brother used to hang out with them, and my two brothers used to hang out with them. And that band was for us was both politically a revolution and musically a revolution too. So they are the first band actually. Everything was either folkloric, traditional, or classical, until this band came and says, no, well, we could use a banjo, which is another discussion with the banjo. There's a lot of things to talk about, and a gambri, and what we call tam tam, which is a bongos. The Moroccan bongos is the high and the low, and frame drum, and this big, huge, kind of like a doumbag, but it's not. It's a different. It's like from the Ishawa style. So the band started in the 70s, late 60s and 70s, and they were like the voice of the people, if that makes sense. There was the voice of us, our generation, and my brother older me generation, and they have so many albums, and the lyrics is all represent the people, represent our life, daily life, suffering or happiness and everything. But also it brought the idea of a group, of a band, just like the Beatles, 4 pieces, 2 guitars, 1 guitar, bass and drum, sort of like that. It didn't exist before. And that opened a whole another dimension of Moroccan music and generation to like, here is a new style to start doing it. And that's how I started. That was my whole, the reason why I started playing. And the
So that
reason
was the
that
inspiration.
that was a big inspiration for me. Huge
okay.
inspiration.
I'm a huge fan of the band. I know a little bit of the history, and I didn't know that was the track. That's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
I think
Have
my
you
band told me
seen-
before.
Have you seen that documentary about them called Trances?
No,
It's-
but
it's
I will now.
amazing. Yeah, I think it came out in 1981, and it's
I mean,
incredible to. Brahim's actually
I
in
mean,
some
when
of
I was a kid.
the crowd scenes because it was
As a
shot
kid,
in his
yeah.
neighborhood in Casablanca.
All right, let's see if we can.
I have
find
a I have a copy of the movie. I'll Dropbox it to you, Derek.
Oh,
It's,
okay.
it's
Thank
a
you.
good
Please,
print.
please.
So
Okay.
you don't have to sit through all the commercials on YouTube.
Allah Ya Mulana. Club Delft on Sama.
الله يا مولانا الله الله يا الله مولانا الله يا مولانا حالي ما يخفاك يا الواحد رب سبحان الحي الباقي سبحانك يا الله جود عليا سبحان الحي الباقي سبحانك يا الله جود علي وبيك عمرت سواقي ونحلتي بنوارك مرعيه بك عبرت سواقي ولحيتي بنوارك مرعي ولا تجعلني شاقي حرمت ودخيليك بالصوفية لا تجعلني شاقي حرمت ودخيليك بالصوفية نازرت محمد وانا ساكن في قلبي نازرت بالمركب وانا نمشي على رجلي جيت زاير ومعبد سيد رسول العربي سلم لك سل روحي سال حمال العرشي نبي يا جيراني نوصل للزاد من غدا نمشيلو نبي يا جيراني نوصل للزاد من غدا نمشي وشهاد النور عياني نطوف الكعبة نزورها ونبدي جاه نور عياني نطوف الكعبة نزورها ونبدي ويا زوار النبي الله ديوني نزور معاكم يا زوار النبي الله ديوني نزور معاكم مولاي محمدي الله ديوني نزور معاكم مولاي محمدي انا وين يا ابو عمامه خضراء لا زرت محمد وانا ساكن في قلبي نازرته بالمركوب وانا نمشي على رجلي جيت زاير ومعبد زيد رسول العربي سلم لك سل روحي سال حمال العرشي واو 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 السواقي والحج بين وارك مرعي ولا تجعلني شاقي حرمت وتخليك بالصوفية لا تجعلني شاقي حرمت وتخليك بالصوفية.
Why that song? I mean, the repertoire of Nasser Al-Ghawan is pretty broad. Why that song to cover?
Brahim played it for us, and I fell in love with it. And you know, I mean, he could probably tell you more about it, but if the version that we do has a very different feel than the original version. And actually, hang on, so. I just got this.
Oh, that's
So this is the
Wow.
original vinyl of it, and the Nestle One version sounds very, very different. Oh, I just unplugged myself.
Okay. Plug yourself back in. So, Raheem, you live in Albuquerque now.
yes.
And so you're in a world away from
Yeah.
where you started, even from New York. You know, Albuquerque is very different from New York. Tell me your story about that. Like, you know, in a context of what would you tell other Moroccan musicians that are thinking about America that probably just think of New York or LA
Good question, yeah.
and they think that they're next to each other?
Yeah, that's a
that
really
like
good
what
question.
what is the, because this is one of the things that I try to share as much as possible, being an immigrant also, is like, this is an interesting, unique country full of people from all over the world, and it's huge. And it's one of the few countries you can actually just get into a car and drive for days and days and days. No checkpoints, no borders.
Yeah.
And there's history here too, and a lot. But I'd love to take your perspective, like, you know, all the way to Albuquerque.
Totally,
New
that's a
Mexico.
good, really good question. The funny thing is, later on, I find out that there is something else was bringing me in here, and that I just discovered that the first human being that encountered the Navajos or the Zunis was actually from Morocco in 1525, and his name is Estebano de Moor. He was a slave. He came with a spaniel looking for gold, ends up in New Mexico, died here. I didn't know that before I moved here.
Wow.
But then I'm like, wow, that's probably something. That's why probably I came here. But in New York, of course, New York is. I always loved New York, and it was my school, was my connection with the musicians and stuff. But there is so much more than New York in the United States, and I did cross country so many times. Toured almost like 48 states that I've been to, and it's mesmerizing what you can see in the United States. New Mexico is one of the unique places in the whole country where actually I find out that it looks like Morocco in the south of Morocco. So I took a picture. I went to Taos Pueblo, which is north of, and Taos is one of my favorite too, northern of Santa Fe. Took a picture of those places. Then I take it to Morocco in this place called Ouarzazate, which is where the so-called now the Hollywood of Morocco, because they do all those movies there, the mummies, all that kind of stuff. But then I take it to the people, and I wanted to see the reaction. So I showed them the picture, and I told them, what do you think this picture is? It was like, of course, it's in Ouarzazate, in Morocco. Somebody was like, no, that's not. It's in America. And nobody believed me. It was like, no way. The reason why is like what you say, everybody thinks United States is the big building, it's Florida, Miami, Chicago, those kind of things, that's it. And I did vice versa, the same thing. So I took a picture of the Moroccan buildings And I brought it here, and I showed it to my friend here in New Mexico. I said, "What do you think is this?" And he's like, "Oh, it's in New Mexico." I was like, "No, that's in Morocco."
Wow.
So it's really interesting because of the adobe architecture. That's why that the in Morocco is a similar like here geographically. There's mountains of snow. We actually have snow in Morocco. We do have people skiing in Morocco, even though a lot of people think of it, oh, it's a camel but it's really interesting when I came here and I find out how connected I am to this place. When I talk to the Navajos, for example, I know a friend of mine who lives in, there's a band that I played with. Actually, they play two brothers, a brother and sister in Flagstaff, who they have this band called Si Hassan. And they went to south of Morocco and they played in the festival there, and I met them here and we played together. They called me to play with them, and then I discovered all this connection. And so coming here, my lady, she came here, and then I followed her later on because I didn't want to leave New York. It's hard to leave East Coast. It's really hard, man. Actually, I did it many times and went back. So I went to Boston, I went back. I went to Arizona, I went back. It is really hard to get out of New York. But that's my journey to here, and it's a very spiritual place, and I'll tell people, you really need to get out and go somewhere else.
You do. And,
you really need to go out. And we have these things to add to the end. We have these things, it's kind of like a propaganda between the East and West. This is my opinion, that the middle is, not, what do you need to go there? Why go see that? But it's always this propaganda, but we don't know anything about these places. There's so much history, there's so much music, there's so much stuff in here.
Yeah, no, completely.
And the gigs that Brahim's been doing, besides Club Delph, he was playing with Residente, the Puerto Rican rap artist, and Tinariwen. He toured with Tinariwen, and hopefully when they come back to the States,
they're coming
we'll tour
back.
again.
We're coming back to Seattle.
So, gigs like that, it doesn't really matter where he lives. He can, because it's, just
he's ready to go and to play and to perform and to share the music.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, thanks for the time. I really appreciate it, and be well, be safe. Look forward to seeing you here.
Thank you.
Look forward to hearing more, and I hope this New Agent and everything else works out, and you can share this music so it's not just playing in a beautiful little cafe in Seattle, and more people can get experience Club Delph on all the platforms. So once again, the record's out, and it's also available on all the platforms. And so you can find it there and enjoy it and have your minds blown. Thank you for your time. This is Sama, Seattle Circuit Music.
Thanks, Derek.
Hey everybody, Derek Mazzoni here. Thank you for watching Sama, Seattle Circuit Music and Art. I hope you like what we're doing here. And if you do, please remember to like, subscribe, and follow so we can bring you more of these amazing artists from all over the world. Thanks.